Okay, so we've disabled waiting room for people to join quickly. And after the interactions, we will bring it back. Will can I be heard?
Yes, Emmanuel, loud and clear.
Okay, so we've disabled waiting room for people to join quickly. And after the
I guess that's the feedback from the YouTube channel.
Exactly. Can I be heard? Okay, so that's the YouTube channel.
Yes, Emmanuel, loud and clear. Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are live on YouTube. Hello, can we see your cameras open and then we see your faces, if it's possible? Emmanuel here. Hi, Safia. I can see you. It's great.
Hello.
Hi, Priscilla. Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hi, Nee. Great. I think we can start enjoying some few videos that we have for you.
Your enterprise generates increasing amounts of data every day. But are you able to leverage this data for analytics and machine learning fast enough? Can you keep up with the massive volumes and derive intelligence from your data?
What is data analytics? Let's understand data analytics with an example. Come with me. I will take you to 90s.
Do you have wheat bread?
I will just go and check. Sorry, sir. It's finished. Oh shit. I forgot to get extra bread stock for weekend. Please, sir, can you come tomorrow morning?
I will buy from someone else.
I wish I could remember. Now will he come to my store again?
Now let us come back to 21st century.
Hey, I need wheat bread.
Miss, can you check?
Sir, you can take the bread from row 2, rack 4 and slab 1.
Thank you. Can you please bill all this? Also, I have a question in mind. How can you remember so many things?
It is not me, sir. It is the machine that is doing all this. It gives me all the information whenever I ask anything like my current stock, price of items and other things.
That is cool.
Data analytics has helped me out.
So earlier decisions which were made by instincts are now backed by historical data captured. Data analytics had made everyone's life simpler because of automated decision making. In day-to-day life, it is helping us in many ways.
Your enterprise generates increasing amounts of data every day. But are you able to leverage this data for analytics and machine learning fast enough? Can you keep up with the massive volumes and derive intelligence from your data?
What is data analytics? Let's understand data analytics with an example. Come with me. I will take you to 90s.
Do you have wheat bread?
I will just go and check. Sorry, sir. It's finished. Oh shit. I forgot to get extra bread stock for weekend. Please, sir, can you come tomorrow morning?
I will buy from someone else.
I wish I could remember. Now will he come to my store again?
Now let us come back to 21st century.
Hey, I need wheat bread.
Miss, can you check?
Sir, you can take the bread from row 2, rack 4 and slab 1.
Thank you. Can you please bill all this? Also, I have a question in mind. How can you remember so many things?
It is not me, sir. It is the machine that is doing all this. It gives me all the information whenever I ask anything like my current stock, price of items and other things.
That is cool.
Data analytics has helped me out.
So earlier decisions which were made by instincts are now backed by historical data captured. Data analytics had made everyone's life simpler because of automated decision making. In day-to-day life, it is helping us in many ways.
Your enterprise generates increasing amounts of data every day. But are you able to leverage this data for analytics and machine learning fast enough? Can you keep up with the massive volumes and derive intelligence from your data?
What is data analytics? Let's understand data analytics with an example. Come with me. I will take you to 90s.
Do you have wheat bread?
I will just go and check. Sorry, sir. It's finished. Oh shit. I forgot to get extra bread stock for weekend. Please sir, can you come tomorrow morning?
I will buy from someone else.
I wish I could remember. Now will he come to my store again?
Now let us come back to 21st century.
Hey, I need wheat bread.
Miss, can you check?
Sir, you can take the bread from row 2, rack 4 and slab 1.
Thank you. Can you please bill all this? Also, I have a question in mind. How can you remember so many things?
It is not me, sir. It is the machine that is doing all this. It gives me all the information whenever I ask anything like my current stock, price of items and other things.
That is cool.
Data analytics has helped me out.
So earlier decisions which were made by instincts are now backed by historical data captured. Data analytics had made everyone's life simpler because of automated decision making. In day-to-day life it is helping us in many ways.
Once again, we want to welcome everyone to our webinar for today. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you find yourself around the globe. And to have a very good experience, we would encourage everyone to mute themselves. We also want you to please rename your connection so that it can be easy to identify you. And again, we also want to put up our videos so that the distractions will be minimized. We are going to mute everyone, and also would want you to put up your videos, and we'll make it impossible for people to be able to put on their videos as well as their audio for the period that we are going to have in our webinar. So thank you so much. And in the next few seconds, we're going to start the recording. And as we speak, we are live on YouTube for our friends who are not able to join, possibly via Zoom, to also be able to stream the session. Thank you and enjoy our webinar. It's exactly 5 o'clock and the recording is starting right away. So bear with us, we start the recording right away. Welcome everyone to CoreTech Agile Limited's Data Analytics webinar for August 2024-2022. My name is Emmanuel Amankwano, and I'm the Business Development Manager for CoreTech Agile Limited. I'm very happy to welcome you all to this webinar on data analytics. And before we actually delve into the data analytics part, it is good to be able to let you know who we are so that in future we can be able to do business. Of course, this is not going to be a marketing meeting. I'm going to be very brief on the marketing side so that we can have more time for the more important aspects for which we are here this evening. I hope my screen is visible. William.
Yes, Imai, it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to talk a bit about CoreTech. We'll look at our solutions. We'll look at our partners that we've been working with. We'll look at our corporate clients that we have been able to service and work with. Then we'll go into our presentation on the data analytics. It's going to be a bit practical. We will have a demo session. And we'll also see in conclusion what we have in the future that we want to present to you when it comes to data analytics. Now, CoreTech as a company was started in the year 2011. It started as an IT company providing IT solutions to organizations and training to individuals. Today, we have a team of people with different set of skills, and we've moved actually from just being ICT solution provider into more of service and training and consultancy. So we bring innovative ideas and solutions at affordable costs to our clients. And that is our mission, and that is our vision there. We want to make sure that our clients really are satisfied. Whatever we provide them is top-notch, cutting edge, and they are satisfied with everything that we do with them. In our vision, we want to be dedicated, sustainably competitive, customer-oriented, profitable, and reliable as an organization to deliver exceptional value to our clients, our shareholders, and our stakeholders. Now, these are the solutions and services that we offer. So we provide IT and telecom consultancy. We've helped a number of vast providers from Nigeria and within the country to be able to secure licenses with NCA and also to be able to connect with the various telcos to provide value-added services. When it comes to Agile adoption, we help organizations learn about Agile and to adopt Agile in their practices. We also provide mentoring and coaching. We've done that for JA Africa. And we also have some of our students who are mentored and coached to be able to train our clients as well. Now on the side, we have web application development. We develop websites and apps for organizations. But core of it, we have certification training, which is our focus going forward. So we have PMI certifications that we train people on, organizations as well. So PMP, PBA, that's business analysis, ACP, Agile Certified Practitioner, CAPM, Certified Associate Project Manager. We also provide tips, even though we are not psychologists, we provide help in stress management, practical tips that can help individuals manage stress. So if you need such, definitely you can contact CoreTech. Then we have data analytics. What we are going to enjoy today is part of the solutions that we offer organizations and individuals. This is not an exhaustive list of what we do, but key among the things that we do is what we are providing you at this time. Our business partners, these are organizations that we work with. They provide us clients that we can work with. They have the direct access to those clients. So we have PMI Ghana chapter. We partner with PMI Ghana chapter to provide PMI related certification training, PMP, PBA, ACP, CAPM. Then we have GCTU, formerly GTUC. So we also have them as our partner. We provide project management training to the public through them. Then we have Catholic University College of Ghana, Fiapre in Sunyani area. We also provide project management training in that college as well. Then in Rwanda, we have Invano Resource Center, IREC. We've been doing work with them for the past 3 years now. Then coming up this year, we've engaged another consultant, another partner in Tanzania, Herbal Consult. And we've started some business with them as well. Then we have in Zimbabwe, Touch PMO, another client that we have there that we partner to provide training services to their clients. Then Cameroon, we have Promec Consulting that we also partner with to provide Agile training. As for individuals that we have engaged, we have thousands of them that we have been able to train and provide certificates to. Now, these are clients, corporate clients that we work with. Danex ITIN Starwin PLC. So for Danex, their website was developed by CoreTech. Initially, when it was only ITIN that we were dealing with, we were able to provide them an online ordering platform to allow their customers to be able to purchase drugs online. But I think when the merger took place, that was not the focus, so we have stopped that one. For Fidelity Bank, we had the opportunity to train a member of their PMO in project management in the year 2019 to equip that member to be effective in managing projects within the bank. Then an organization called EFT Corporation is an IT company that provides POS solutions to the banks. So we had the opportunity to train their IT staff spread across many countries in Africa. So in 2021, we did that during the COVID period. Then for J Africa, volunteer project management training was provided to them by one of our team members. And for 1 full year, free training and coaching was offered this institution. So our contact person for engagement, if need be, is Emmanuel Amankwano. He is the products and business manager, development manager of CoreTech. And we are very happy to engage your organization and your network to be able to provide the services that we provide our clients. At this point, we'll be moving on to the all-important data analytics presentation. And before our resource person comes on board, please permit me to provide his profile. I'm going to read a bit about our dear friend, my colleague, who is going to do the presentation. So his name is William Ghani. William Ghani is our resource person. And William now I get my profile here, is very passionate about exploration and use of data in driving decisions. He has over 7 years experience in the telecommunication industry, from managing the customer relationship management system, that is an Oracle CRM, to becoming a data scientist in the customer value management marketing sector. Currently, William is working in the financial, as a banking industry. Now, during his time in the marketing space, he implemented a machine learning technique for pitching tailor-made offers to customers, resulting in optimized targeting, and incremental revenue uplifts. The model's output currently contributes about 40% of the customer value management revenue for his former employer. Just imagine that. Now, as lead in data analytics within the CVM segment, he analyzes marketing campaign impact on customer behavior, as well as revenue, assess effectiveness and accuracy of various data sources for analysis and building of predictive models, drive based engagement through micro-segment analysis, ensuring profitability through average revenue per user output and activity growth, review and optimize SQL reporting scripts, model performance, and drive efficiency by facilitating the automation of process, and advise on best practice for big data and big analytics and data analytics. So participants, everyone, kindly join me, welcome William Garney to continue the session at this point as he takes us through the rest of the presentation. Welcome, William. Take over, please.
Thank you, Rima. Thank you very much. Hello to everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, I can hear you, please. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you all for making time to join this call. It's a pleasure to have you all on this call. I'm really excited to begin this journey with you. I hope this is the first of many to come. And I do hope to also meet some of you in person in the near future. It promises to be exciting. This, as Ima has already demonstrated, will have a demo session in there. So I'll do well to keep within the time frame so that we can spend some time in the demo. All right, so I will zoom straight to the presentation. Thank you once again. All right, so some interesting facts about data. As of 2021, the estimated data produced or generated worldwide was estimated to be around 79 zettabytes. And that's really huge. Zettabytes, in order to appreciate this, 1 zettabyte is equivalent to 1 trillion gigabytes. That's lots of data produced in 2021. As of 2012, there was a study that estimated that about 90% of the data in the world had been produced in the last 2 years. So that would be 2012 and 2011. Within that period, we had produced about 90% of the whole data in the world, and that's massive. Now, considering that between 2010 and 2020, we've had 5,000% growth in data. So there's no slowing down in data. We are expecting to have about 67% of the world population to have internet by 2023. And currently, the amount of data stored is 5 times higher than the growth of the world economy. Estimated big data revenue is expected to be around 270 billion by 2022. If you ask me what universe we live in, I would say we live in a dataverse. And now another question would be, so what do we do with all this data? Probably a more pressing question would be, how do we get value out of this data? Or is there any value in this data? And in an attempt to answer that, we come up with data analytics. Yes, there is value in data. Now, data is produced in various sources. You have your social media handles, you have your smartphones, you have your monitoring devices, you have your web, you have your browsing history, your click histories, email, your transactional data, sales data. Everything is producing data virtually. And data analytics comes in here because it tries to retrieve all of this data that is produced from various different data sources, cleanse that data, interpret that data to answer some specific question or a problem. So basically, when you think of data analytics, you can summarize this as making sense out of all the numerous data that we have. So 3 words: data, insight, action. Data analytics has to produce or answer a specific question. We need insight to derive answers to questions. Now, why data analytics? Of course, you have a lot of organizations this time around going searching for people who have analytical skills, and it's on the rise there because it's known that any organization with the capability to analyze their data will have an advantage over its competitor if the other is not doing so. There's this favorite quote by Jim Barksdale, which says, if we have data, let's look at data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. And that's a lot of opinion. As the saying also goes, opinions as like nose, everyone has one. So if we are to go solely with opinions, we are sure that we will never make the right decision or no decision will be taken at all. But with data, we have the facts, we have the evidence in there. So data analytics helps us make improved decisions. Data, it's helping organizations be more efficient in their operations. For example, if you have a number of products in there and you don't have data on the sales of your products or the revenues that are coming in from those products, you won't know how well you are doing. Again, with data on those products, you can simply know that this product is not giving me the expected revenue. You are probably spending more in terms of marketing campaigns. So you'll probably withdraw that product. Or you will take it out, refresh it, and put it back in there. So efficiency is guaranteed with data analytics. You have better customer service. With targeted campaigns, if you have your data and you are able to do some segmentation of your data, you will get to know your customers better. You get to know their preferences. And big companies like Amazon, Google are already using that. And there is that potential to identify new opportunities within that. There is a story about diapers and beer, a very interesting one. Still not sure who brought it out there, but it was estimated that usually husbands on Friday between the ages of 30 and 40, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., when they visit any Max shop and buy a diaper, they are likely to also add a beer. So with this insight, what a retail company decided to do was to place the beer beside the diaper. And the result of that was a 35% increase in both the purchases of diapers and beer. So clearly these husbands were purchasing these diapers for their kids. And anytime it's Friday night, so probably you have to stay at home. So why not grab a beer and spend it at home with your family? So this is some of the potentials that you can identify by doing data analytics. You now, by knowing this, you are able to identify new potentials, also have other alternate sources of revenue. Now, data analytics can be categorized into 4 groups. Firstly, we have that of the descriptive analytics. This is basically attempting to answer the question, what happened? This is a very common type of analytics that is being done by most companies here. And what we tend to do is to have all your raw data and get insights from that past data. So basically, what happened? For example, once you have a year's data, you're able to realize that maybe in Q2, your sales dropped. So that is what descriptive analytics will do. It deals with the past, understanding and getting insights from data that has and events that have already occurred. Now, the next stage will be the diagnostic analytics. This happens to answer the question, why did it happen? So if there was a drop in sales, for example, diagnostic analysis will now tend to find out what caused the drop in sales. So with diagnostic analytics, you will be looking at anomalies in your trends, gathering more information to answer the question or the cause of the event. And so, for example, in the terms of sales, why did sales drop? So you will then probably do a drill down into your various, say, sales agents. You probably want to check their performance over the period. It's possibly will point out to a particular sales agent who failed to meet his targets. And the question again is, why did he fail to meet his target? Probably he was on leave, probably he was sick, or probably he had resigned. So that has to do with the diagnostic analysis, answering the question, why did it happen? Then the next stage of analytics is the predictive analytics. This is where we attempt to answer the question, what is likely to happen? What is the likely future outcome of an event? Please note, we are not predicting the future. I mean, theoretically, no one can predict the future. We are only saying what is likely to happen based on probability. All this has got to do with statistics and probability. So based on previous trends, what is likely to happen in the future? So we have seen that customers are decreasing their spend within a certain period. Now, based on that data we have seen consistently for a trend, what are we are likely to see this happening within the same period, say in the near future. So that is one of the use cases for that. And knowing what is likely to happen can then lead you to take actions to take an advantage of the opportunity that is presenting itself, or to also minimize the damage that might have to your business. Then the last and the frontier of it all is the prescriptive analytics. This attempts to present the best action, what action to take next. So after you have done all your descriptive and predictive analytics, prescriptive is now trying to recommend the next line of action. So based on an action taken, you will then want to find out what are the consequences. So if I should take option A, how does that affect my revenue? If I take option B, how does that affect my revenue there? Now, considering these groups of analytics, in terms of value added and complexity, you will find out that the further we move to prescriptive analytics, the more complex it gets, and again, the more value it adds. So basically, the good old descriptive analytics is at the bottom there, which together with diagnostic will probably just be giving you information and insights focused. But then with prescriptive and predictive analytics, you are more to have a decision focused, and you are more to be more prospective to look into the future, while descriptive will be looking into the past. So in the journey through to understand the data that we have, we realize that this is no small mean task. It can't be done by a single role. There are a number of roles and responsibilities, and this has been divided broadly into these four. This is not all, but then broadly we can divide into these four roles. We first have the data analyst role, and this course is mainly focused on that. So basically, the data analyst will be the one to gather the required information and transform that raw data into insights for the business. So the data analyst here is very key to the business. He first has to identify the appropriate data that is needed and reporting requirements that is also needed to help him generate the right visuals for making informed decisions. Now, close to the data analyst, we have the data engineer. He or she is basically responsible for all the platform technologies. So basically, data is coming in both structured and unstructured data. So you have all this data coming in from multiple data sources. The data engineer basically is responsible for taking all of this data from multiple sources, ingesting that data, transforming a bit of that data, and also loading it so that this data analyst can then rely on that data. So basically, you find out that the data analyst and the data engineer will be working closely because there will be some data requirements that might not be readily available, and you will need the help of the data engineer to get that. Then we have the data scientist, who is basically the one to perform those advanced analytics using the machine learning, using the deep learning, moving through iterative experiments and customized algorithms. So basically, they will be coming in to build new models. They usually dive into the unknown. They don't usually have a question at heart. They just dive into the unknown, try and make sense out of various complex data problems. And then we have the database admin, and this is the good old administrator who is always in charge for the data store, both on-prem and within the cloud. So basically ensuring that the database is running healthy, policies, backup recoveries are done. Then we move into the stages of data analytics. So basically, we've seen data analytics as a process of retrieving data, analyzing that to answer a question. So there's data, insight, there's an action. And it's broadly seen as a process. And as a process, we can generally categorize this into some steps. And these are the steps. The first is to define the problem. So the very first stage of the analytic process is to understand what the problem is at hand. Without this clearly writing a problem statement, you are likely to go looking and spending a lot of hours and time without any effort. So first, understand the problem. So for example, if we have a not so good problem statement, will be we are losing money. Hello, Imam. Hello, Mano, can you hear me, please?
Hello, William, can you take control?
Yes, okay. I think I lost you for a few seconds. All right, am I audible?
Very. Hello, William, we can hear you.
All right, great. Okay, thank you, Emma. So, sorry, as I was saying, the first stage is always to define the problem. So a better problem statement would be our sales for beverage for Q2 decreased by 25%. Now that is a clear problem statement. So with that, you are now able to then ask the necessary questions. And the questions should be very clear and precise. So for example, you'll be asking yourself, so what was there any other increase in any other products? So basically, was there a shift in the customer purchase pattern? Did something unique or out of the ordinary happen within that Q2 in which we saw the decline of the sales? And so these are some of the questions that you probably be asking. And these questions are what will guide you to better understand what type of data you need to collect. So the questions have to be very clear, precise, and they have to stay on target. So with these questions asked now you are in a better position to then say or talk to the data engineer or go to the data warehouse, or if you don't have that, you have to now look for the data that is needed to help you answer these questions. So access to the data. So there are various sources. You can have that from the BI. If they aren't there, some of these data is also stored in files. You have to figure out how to get them, probably scan them and use them in your analysis. Also note that the data you are collecting, the quality of the data, your analysis is only as good as the quality of the data that you have. So then the quality of the data plays a big role in retrieving the data. Then lastly, you should also collect lots of data. If you have enough data, it helps in the analysis because you don't want to just take a few data, then later realize that you need more data and have to and then go back for that. That can slow down your analysis. So take lots of data, all the data you need. Once you have all that data and you move to the cleaning and the formatting stage, there you can decide that, well, I don't think I need this customer demographic data. You can just take it out. So at this stage where we are cleaning and formatting the data, you remove all the unwanted data. You then also have to fill in your missing data. So if your data is not stored in one particular database or table, you need to figure out how to get and supplement that data. Then again, you need to ensure that this is where you also do all your transformations. You'll be doing a split of your data, joining of your tables, and all of that. Then lastly, the other point which might seem so obvious is to format your data correctly. This point is very important, and we'll demonstrate that in the demo. So dates should be formatted as dates, numbers as numbers, text as text. So if you have your numbers stored as text, you should know that all the functions or the formulas associated with numbers won't work on that. Then after all your data is well cleaned and formatted, now you move to the analysis and visualization stage. So at this point in time, this is where you are going to analyze the data and take measurements. So the first thing will be for you to define your variable. Your variable is simply saying that you identify what you need to measure. So with these measures, you will probably be doing some of this descriptive measurements where you have your sum, your average, your mean, and all of that. So because of how huge, depending on your data set is, you probably want to summarize your data sets to give you that descriptive view of your data. For example, to know what's the average spend, what's the maximum spend, what's the median, and all of that. Then after you have taken that measurement, you then review these measurements. So during this stage, you will probably be asking some questions, and it's fine so long as the questions are staying on target and helping you to answer the initial problem statement. It's fine to ask some questions within this stage. And if need be, you go in for the data that you need. So once you review these measurements, then you now have to visualize these measurements through your data visualization tools. You probably will have them seeing the trends. You'll probably be doing some linear regression to see the correlation between some variables. So this is where you now be drawing insights out of your data. Then at the end of the day, the last step is where you draw conclusions to say that, and these questions that were asked at the beginning were answered based on the analysis and the visualizations that we have. If need be, you then ask yourself, are new questions needed? If everything has been answered, what then can you draw as a conclusion? What are the recommendations that you can make from the insight that has been generated? So broadly, these are the steps that you probably be taking through the analytics process. Then, great. So quickly, we just want to take a look at the tasks involved in for a data analyst, since that is the focus for us here. A lot of that has already been said within the stages, so I'll quickly brush over this. The first task is always to prepare the data. Data preparation is key. Between data preparation and modeling, you are going to spend close to 80% of your time in there, simply because if your data is not formatted correctly and modeled correctly, you are going to have trouble visualizing it properly, and it's going to have an impact on the performance of your dashboards and reports. So preparing your data basically will involve cleaning it, transforming it, profiling the data that you need. Privacy issues are also taken care here. You have to be sure, do you need that customer email in your data? Do you need his numbers in there? Is there a way to identify the customer aside his number? You have to take care of that during the preparation stage. Now, when the data is all cleaned and profiled as expected, you now go to the modeling stage. So the modeling stage is simply creating relationships between the various tables that you have. So your data will more often than not be sitting in one single table. You will have your data sitting in separate tables. So modeling will involve creating relationship between the two various tables. You might have to perform some custom calculations in there. And this is where tools like Power BI and Tableau help you do that. Then you will then have to move into, once you get the modeling right, visualizing the data becomes easier. This is where you have to, your data actually comes to life. You need to present the data in a compelling way to your audience. So there is that storytelling in that data. So not just the hard work done, all that hard work done has to translate into the storytelling. Else your stakeholders will not see or understand what you've been through. So this, I think, visualization is a key part for data analysts, and it's one of the areas that most of the core data analysts find very challenging. They do all the hard work, they get all the information, but how to visualize and present that to stakeholders becomes a challenge. But then you need to get it right. You also need, visualization will involve which right visuals to use. If you were looking at a trend, you probably want to look at a line graph instead of probably a histogram or a bar one. So this is where it all happens. Then after you need to, that you might go into the analysis stage. So what is, from the visuals, what can you see? What is the data telling you? You need to be able to interpret that data. If there are patterns in there, are there trends in there? Do you have to do a drill down in there to understand that data? So you visualize, then you analyze to help understand what the visualizations are telling you. Then the last of it will be managing. So the data analyst is also tasked to manage the various reportings and the dashboards and the data sets. You want to have one source of data set. You don't want to have multiple data sets in there. There should be a common source where everyone goes in and everybody knows that this is the single source of truth. And from that data source, other comparisons and other analysis can be done. So that is also a task for the data analyst. Now, the skills required for analytics. This is by no means all the skills required, but just the few that I want to highlight here. So for broken down to technical skills and soft skills. So first on the technical skills, I think one of the number one skills you will need as an analyst is the SQL. You need to learn how to query data from the databases. Most of our transactional data sits in relational databases. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and the language for these relational databases. With this skill in hand, you won't be relying solely or so much on the other um, business resources to help you get the data. So it's a very important skill that you need. Next is a statistical programming skill. That's, I know that most of data analysts don't do programming, but then it's also good to have this skill because a skill, for example, a Python programming skill in terms of data analytics will help you where Excel fails to, because we know our good old Excel has some limitations. So having this statistical programming skill, it's good because then it makes you do more with large and huge data sets where your traditional data tools like Excel sometimes fail. But I'll come back to that Excel limitation. We'll see that in the following slide. Then again, we have the data visualization. This is where you need to have a tool like Power BI or Tableau to help you bring that data to life. You want to visualize the data that you have because after all the analysis, if the data is not visualized, we won't see the trends, we won't see the patterns in there. And then there's the machine learning. This is not a must have, but then at least if you understand the machine learning skills or the machine learning tools available and the concept around machine learning, that will also help in your analytics journey. But before machine learning, you first need to also have that statistical program. So that is linked in there. So definitely you want to be graduating towards that. Then there is the soft skills. After all this hard technical skills, trying to get all that data, there are some soft skills that you require, and critical thinking is one of them. As an analyst, you need to be able to ask the questions. You need to be able to see the not so obvious things in there, not so obvious questions in there. And it's really important that you have the critical thinking. And again, effective communication. Once you've done all this analysis, how do you communicate to your audience? You can do all of the analysis, you have all the skills, but if you are not communicating your results clearly, then your audience or your stakeholders won't understand and know the value you are adding to the business. So communication is very key. That's closely linked with presentation skills, has to be presented to the audience in a manner in which they can easily understand and also be engaged. You need to carry them along in your presentation, have it be interactive as you present along. Then the last but not the least is teamwork. As stated earlier on, you as a data analyst, you can't succeed alone. You will need a database admin, you will need a data engineer, you will need a data scientist. And as a team, you will you will all be able to sail through and provide the needed insights for your organization. Great. So quickly, we'll look at the various tools, common tools that are currently in use in the data analytics space. And what you see there is a Google trend trying to show the searches for Tableau and Power BI. I mean, these two are the most common business intelligence tool out there. Tableau, well, a bit older than Power BI, so has the market advantage. That was released somewhere in 2005. And Power BI came in later, about probably a decade later, around 2014, thereabout. But then, as you can see, Tableau, very common, yes. Power BI are gradually catching up. Power BI probably because it's a Microsoft product and definitely has got the advantage of other products and easily falls into the ecosystem of the various Microsoft applications we have here. So Tableau, Power BI, very similar, but also very distinct in their own ways. And I try to compare these two like for like. So we have the desktop the desktop is basically the kitchen of your tool. That is where you go in to do all your various data analytics, data preparation. That's where you bring in your new visuals. That's where you'll be adding your new calculated measures and all of that. Once you do all of that, you create the dashboards, you create all the reports. You want to share that with your colleagues. And you do that by sharing it on the Tableau server. Tableau server and Tableau Online are the same. Server is just the ability to have that in-house on-prem, and then the online is the cloud solution. Similarly, you have that for the Power BI service, which is also the cloud bit, and then the Power BI reporting server, which is also the on-prem bit. And the mobile bit is also there. So for top executives, they won't have probably time to be opening up their laptops to check. They also have the advantage of just checking from their mobile apps how the performance, the KPIs for the reports. Then the last but not the least, Power Query is actually part of the Power BI desktop. I just pulled that out to compare that with Tableau Prep. So basically, the Power Query and the Tableau Prep are the ETL tool or the engine that is used by these various applications. So ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So basically, Power Query enables you to connect to various data sources, helps you transform that data, then helps you load that data into, say, a model or into a report or into Excel. So these are the various tools. And the last one I saved was Excel, our good old Excel. We've not forgotten Excel. Excel has been with us, and throughout the journey, Excel has been there before all of these tools. But there's that limitation of Excel, and as some of you might know, Excel can just load rows up to a little over 1 million rows. And in this age of data, huge data, 1 million rows won't be enough to just help us with our analytics. So there is the good news for those who still use Excel, because you have Power Query embedded in Excel. Now, Power Query in Excel means that you can now exceed that 1 million rows. And that is what I hope to show in the demo. So in Excel, you have your tables, you have your pivot tables, there's the Power Pivot, then there's the Power Query. The Power Pivot, Power Query, not too old, fairly recent, and these tools are extremely powerful, and they will transform the way you work with Excel. So we'll quickly demo that, and you will have a sense of how you can use or leverage Power Query and Power Pivots in your analysis. So basically, that's it for this demo, for this presentation. We will zoom quickly into the demo. Thank you, and I will quickly switch screens to mine, and we'll have a look at the demo. All right, so for our demo, Ima, I am trying to share my screen. Let me know if my screen is.
Yes, I can see your screen, William.
It's visible.
Yes, please.
Hello, Emmanuel, am I still audible?
Yes, you are audible. William, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is my screen visible?
Yes, please. So please go ahead.
All right, thank you all for bearing with me. Okay, so in this demo, we're going to take fictitious data for the costs associated with a company. So basically, what we have here is monthly data associated with the monthly data for the various costs associated with various locations for a fictitious company. And I'll quickly open this for you to have a look at that. So as you can see here, we have the date, the location center, the cost center, and then the cost. This data, it's roughly 800,000. So if we were to analyze this in Excel, we can probably just do analysis for just say the July data. Now, the task here is to see the various costs month on month um, across the various regions as well. So we want to see total cost month on month, and we also want to see the total cost associated with the various location centers. And in this case, that will be the regions. So if you were to do this manually, I'm sure you're going to take a while. Probably your first step will be to change this into date. You might probably want to aggregate this and now go and load it in Power Pivot. That is going to take you a long time, and your Excel, if not crashing by the time you are done. So this is where I demonstrate the new tool, that relatively new tool that is in Excel, that is the Power Query. So you simply, with Power Query, I'm going to start up my Excel here. You just need a blank Excel sheet here. And Power Query is located under this data tab here. So here we have the section called Get and Transform Data. So basically, this is what will open up the Power Query editor for us to work on our data. And here you can quickly see that there are a number of various data sources in which you can connect to. Excel is a bit limited in the number of data sources, but if you are using Power BI, you will have quite a number of data sources. It takes a while for those data sources in Power BI to be moved into Excel. So in our case, we are basically going to pick up data from a folder. And so I go to from file, from folder, then I move it into the demo folder that we have, and our data sits here. So here I've selected the data folder here. So what happens is you have this pop-up that comes up, and basically, if you recall, there were 3 files in there, and these had these extension of a CSV, comma separated values. And so this is not an Excel extension file. This is actually a CSV file. And what we will do here is we are going to combine these 3 files, and we are going to transform it. With this window, for those of you not familiar with Power Query, you will most likely see transform data or edit data. It's advised that anytime you open up this window, always go to transform data or combine and transform data. What that will do is it will open up Power Query for you, and you'll be able to do any manipulation, inspect your data before you get to load it. So remember, Power Query is an ETL tool. What we are doing now is the ETL bit where we are connecting to the data source. So we are moving into the transformation bit here. So with this window, remember there are 3 files here. The first file is taken as a sample. You can decide whichever file you want. When you use this drop down, you can choose which you want. I'll just leave that the first file, and I'll hit OK. So what you have here now is a separate window. So as you can see, there's the Excel. This is the Power Query window. This window is, it might seem a bit daunting, but it's not. It's just your familiar tools that you probably know. These tools are here to help you do all the various transformations that probably you'll be using a formula to do. If you go to the transform, you can extract, you can unpivot, you can split by column. You can do that for add conditional columns to that. And since it's a demo, we won't go that deep into it. So basically, I want to show you this. This is the query pane. Whatever you load into Power Query, it's whatever table, it creates a query here for you. So this is the first query. This is your query settings. Now, this is where the magic happens. The applied steps here are the steps or the actions that you take on the data set. So if you are familiar with Excel, you will know that we have the macros So for those who wanted to achieve automation with Excel, were writing a lot of macros. In this case, we don't need to write any macro. This is macro like. You have whatever you do is recorded as a step here, and you can't break the data source. So whatever you do here, feel free. You can always go back to, for example, to this step. If you feel you have to delete the step or edit something within the step, you can always go back to that step. All right, so for this data is fairly clean. I'm just simply going to tidy up this data by removing unnecessary columns. If you remember, that's one of the steps you do in your cleaning. I don't need the source name for now. I have date here, so I'll just remove this. And again, I don't need the cost center because I have location code here, which is actually linked to another data table that I will show shortly. So I'm going to remove this. So now I have removed 2 columns, and again, as I said, always format your data correctly. So there's this 1, 2, 3 here. This, when you hit that tab, you'll be able to see which data format to choose. This is a date time format, so I'll quickly select that. Location is text, that is fine. Cost here is formatted as, you see here, decimal number. I don't need that. I'll choose a currency just to shorten this to 2 decimal places. Okay, so this is basically the transformation that I'll perform on this data set. This is a relatively clean data source, so there's not much transformation done. But in the real world, you will not have data as clean as this. You'll be lucky to have that, and you might have to do some further transformations, and that we will see in depth in other courses that we hope to see you on. So from here, we simply going to click this drop down at the close and load icon. Then we click close and load to. Now you get this pop-up here. So we have done the extract bit, we have done the transformation bit in Power Query. Now we are going to do the loading bit. So the loading bit here, we are going to click load to at only create connection. And this basically is going to create a link to our data source. Mind you, we have 3 data sources in there. Each one contains 800,000 rows of data. And if we were to attempt to load all of that, that's 2.4 million. And that can't fit into Excel. However, with this only creates connection, we'll be able to just create a link to all those various data sources. Then I'll check this box here, which says add this to the data model. If you remember in the last slide, we had the Power Pivot bit of Excel. Power Pivot is another name for data model. So the data model basically is just giving us the ability to load multiple tables into a pivot table. So in your previous analysis or previous days in Excel, what you would do is that you ensure that all your tables or all your data is sitting in one sheet so that you can then pivot it and analyze. However, with the Power Pivot now, you don't need to do that. It's better. It's performance it improves performance, and you are able to manage your data sources much better than loading them as a single data source. I will go into the data model shortly. So with this selected, and when you hit OK, you just have a look at this side here. You see the data being loaded. And this, we expect about 2.4 million data records to be loaded. And yes, voila, we have the data loaded, 2.4 million. And you can't load more than 1 million into Excel. But here we've been able to load 2.4 million rows. So I'll quickly show you where the data model is. This is when you go to the Power Pivot tab, or from your data tab, this green icon here, that goes to the Power Pivot. Note again, Power Pivot is the same as your data model. When you click on that, that also opens another window. Let me expand this. Great. So we are in a data model, and as you can see, we have, this is selecting just one of 2.4 million records here. With this loaded, we can now perform some custom, we can now write some custom columns, calculated columns here. We can write some custom formulas here as well. With this, I won't do much here. What I would like to do here is to create a date table. Okay, so now basically a date table, you need a date table because with most of the analysis that you are going to do, especially when you're doing time series analysis, you will want to connect your data source to a date table. You don't want to be having to slice and get or derive your various date formats from your transaction table. So this dates, I'll just do new here. And what this will do is generate a new date table based on the date range within my data source here. So very quickly, you see that we have our date created, we have a year, we have a number, we have a month, day of the week. So then what that will mean is that once we have this date table connected to this data table, here it's called calendar connected to our data table, we can now slice and dice our data in any format that we want in terms of the days, weeks, and years. So quickly, I'll just show you, I will want to create an additional column here. I want to have year, month format here. And this is just a simple formula. You don't need to memorize this formula. It's just going to pick the year and it's going to multiply that by 100. And I'm going to add the month number to that. And that's it. So here you will see that we have 20, this is the format I wanted. So 2019, then 01 for January, 2019, 02 for February, and that. So that's how easy it is to create a calculated column in a table here. And briefly, I'm going to update this date range. So when it created the date table, it generally picked it from between 2019 because that's the only data I have here. I want this to go to 2020 because I will load extra data in there. All right. So just to check, yes, that is updated and that. So quickly, now you see that we have two separate tables within this data model. Don't forget the first one we loaded was the data that came out from our 3 folders. Now I also created another table called calendar within the data model. So within the data model, the next thing you have to do is you have to create relationship between the data model. And when you come to the Home tab diagram view here, you will see the various tables that have been loaded. So we have the calendar table here, and we have our data table here. Basically, relationship is just connecting two fields in different tables together. So in this case, we know that date from here is linked to date here. And by just dragging, you will see that a relationship is created. Now, for most of your data models, you will expect to have a one-to-many relationship, especially between your dimension table and facts table. I will explain that shortly. So I will explain that shortly. So this is a one-to-many relationship table, relationship between these two tables. Once this is done, let's go back to Excel. When you hit this button, we can quickly, let's try do some, let's see our data. Let's do a pivot on this data and see how it looks like. So from pivots, we are going to do from data model and then existing sheet. So we quickly create a pivot. Great. So within this pivot view, you can see that we now have two separate tables or queries here. In your traditional pivot table, there's always only one sheet. But because of the data model, tool in Excel now, you can have a number of tables in here. What you can do now is let's view the data by month. So I want to see April 2019, and the task at hand was to see the total cost month on month. So I will just bring the cost here. So quickly, we've been able to just analyze 2.4 million rows, and we're able to see the total cost for August, July, September. Well, this is not in the order we want. This is alphabetical. We want this to be ordered in the date or the month order. We can quickly do that by going to our Power Pivot, and I will go back to my data view here, and I'll go to my calendar here. So I will basically, what I'm going to do is to try and sort this very column here in the order in which it's in the month year order. And this helping column here can do that for me, because 2019-01, it will follow the year and the month in that order. So there's this function here, the sort by column. So I can sort this column by another column, and I will just sort it by this column. And great, once that is done, we go to switch to Excel, and there you have it. We have it sorted in the monthly column. So quickly, just 2.4 million rows has been loaded, and let's save our work, and I will save this in the demo book. I'll call it month on month analysis. So let's assume that you began this task and you saved your work and you closed it, though we are not done, and your boss comes back to say, oh yes, I remember, we have extra data for the last, remember we have this for July, August, September. Oh, we've now obtained data for the last quarter of 2019. Can you add that to your analysis? Now, this is where you will see the power of Power Query. You don't need to go back to write the same transformation steps and all that we have. Once the data that is being added to the folder in which we did our initial extract, transform, load operation on has similar data paths. And what I mean is that you have same columns and you have same headers in there. All you need to do is to just click a refresh button and you're done. So for example, I'll quickly copy the last four. So this is our data folder, if you remember. And then, so we've just added August, November, and December. And you have to perform the analysis. So say you come back the following day. Once you come, you just open up your Excel, so long as the data source has not changed and all this. So I will demonstrate this to you. I want you to see the queries as it loads. And so again, all you need to do is just hit a refresh button. So you do a refresh. What that is going to happen is Excel is going back to that data folder. It's going to get all the files within that folder. Then it's going to apply all the transformations that you already had. You remember the save steps we had? It's going to apply to all those files within that folder and load that data to the data model. And let's see what we have here. Voila. We have 4.8 million records loaded with no sweat. And quickly you can see your month-on-month cost, and this is phenomenal. I mean, gone with the days. I'm not sure how you will have done this. You will probably have to export this to SQL or Python to be able to do this really fast. Now Excel with Power Query can really get this done. Now, so this is just the first bit of the analysis. The other of the the other request was to see it by regions. So in terms of regions, I have another file here noted called location. And this basically has got a city code. And this city code is actually linked to the location code in our data folder. And we have it's linked to the city here. So if I want to see it by region, if if we are to do this in Excel, you'll probably be doing what a VLOOKUP or maybe an XLOOKUP to say this, you link this to that, then you bring out this value in that. You don't need to do that anymore. With Power Query or Power Pivot, it's very simple, similar concepts. Remember the data model, you can have a number of tables in there. So what I'm going to do is, this is actually from Excel. I'll import it from Excel here, demo, then I have my location folder. So I'm just going to import this. Here, quickly, you see this window opened again, and always hit the transform data tab so that you can always preview your data within the Power Query. Now, this data is very clean for demonstration purposes. It's very clean. So I am simply just going to load this. Again, I will load this too as a connection only. So if I select any of these options, it's going to load it here within this sheet. But as a connection only, it doesn't load it within Excel. It just creates a link again. Then I'll add this to the data model. Great. So with this done, there's one more step, and that step will be to create a link. So let's go to our data model and diagram view, and you'll see that this existing link exists, and this is our other table. Now, I said I was going to explain the dimension and the facts table. So these two here will be our dimension table. This will be our facts table in terms of data model. What it means is your dimensions table are usually your descriptive table. They are, for example, your customer information table. So your names of your customer, their ages, where they are, email. That is a dimension table. So it's very descriptive. Say you have a product. So the product, the cost of the product, the subcategories of the product. So usually you see dimensions table to have very few rows of records. Now your facts table will always be the tables that have the events or transactional type of data. So for example, your sales that are coming in daily will be your transactional table. So for each sale that is, each purchase that is done, it is logged. That will be your sales table, your facts table. You realize that your facts table will be very long. They'll be very lengthy, have a number of rows in there, whilst your dimensions table will be very short. And what you can do with this is that you can easily create, again, a relationship between, well, oops, I got this relationship wrong. So this is trying to create a relationship between city code and date. But if this relationship, if I leave it as such, I won't get a desired result. I am going to delete that. What I'm going to do, it's actually city code and location code. Yes. Great. So what you have now here is actually a star model in terms of data modeling. A star, you can see a one-to-many relationship that you have, and one-to-many relationships are the most common type of relationship that you are going to see in your analysis. Great. So quickly, and I'm mindful of the time, so I'll quickly now show the regions. So let's quickly get to the regions, and that will do another pivot here from the data model. We will create our regions, and so again, you see the table, location table loaded here, and we can just pick the regions, and then remember there's no cost associated with the table, but because it's linked to the data table, we can pick up the cost, place it here, and there you have it. You have the regions in here. So this is virtually giving you the cost per month and also by regions. This doesn't look too good. Let's just quickly visualize this to have a better representation. So I will first visualize this. I will do a line graph so that we can see trend. Remember, if you are, the moment you have something like a time, you always want to probably do a line graph to see the trend. So I'll quickly format this, and this quickly. I'm going to change the starting axis to 0. I'm going to change the display units to millions just to shorten this. And I think this will do for that. And let's quickly visualize this again. And we will probably do a bar chart for this, okay? And that's might represent this data appropriately. And I'll just hide all this field here. If you were doing this in Power BI, it's really interesting. It's and quite engaging. Excel, the good old Excel, you have to do a bit of all this formatting in here. But then it still does a trick for you, so long as you are able to understand the various charts that are involved in here. So I will quickly add the data labels to the end of this, and I think inside end works. Then let me format this a bit. On the text side, I will change this to solid white, and this doesn't look too good. I will increase this here, okay, and probably make the color a bit darker so that we can see. All right, and always make sure you have your titles. So what's the cost by regions, and I will sort this by the value so that we can see the highest cost first, and we can help. Yes, so this looks a bit better. And let me title this as total cost month on month. Great. So with a few clicks in a few minutes, we've been able to quickly analyze, and if you will want to check the number of records we have 4.8 million. Now, let's get a bit greedy. Let's stretch this a bit. Let's say that your boss now comes in and says, oh, you know what, we now have records for the first quarter of 2020. Again, huge records. Can you quickly show us what the trend is like for the whole period in there? You can quickly do that. You can just, once you have the data within the within the folder, it's in here, has similar structure as that. Just place it in there. And again, once you have all this set up, all we need to do once again is to hit refresh and allow Power Query to do its job. This is how you basically automating all the mundane tasks and the repetitive tasks that you have to do by always copying. So if you always copying data, copy paste, chances are that you can easily use Power Query to automate some of these processes and save yourself lots of hours. So again, you can quickly see that our data is loading, and this time we have crossed the 5 million, and we are at 6.3, I guess. Yes. So yeah, 6.3, no sweat, and we are Excel handling 6.3 million rows. This is phenomenal. What we can do, let me just add one bit of a slicer in here. This will make our data look. So on the calendar side, say I just want to view it by years. I'll add a slicer to the years. That will make sense. Okay. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to bring this chart here to the side a bit. Then I will bring this here. Usually when you're creating a dashboard, you want to copy the presentation from this onto a different sheet. Great, so you can see our 2019 July data all loaded here, and we have the first quarter of 2020 up here. And what the slicer will do is that once you hit the slicer, it's just going to say show only your 2019 records. If you want to see that for the full period, you simply hit clear the filter on that. But it would be nice to also have this change accordingly. So if I'm looking at 2019 here, I should also see this here. This can easily be done by just connecting a slicer to this. And once this is done, all you have to do, that's it. You have this in there. You have this in there. So there's one more last thing, an optimization trick I want to show you before I round up this. And I'm going to save this work here. And that is to take a look at the size of the file. So I have this at around 82 MB here. Okay, well, compared to the items here in this folder, which approximately is around 164 MB here. You say that's fairly okay, but we can reduce this further. And that trick has got to do with what you do in the Power Query. Remember the bit about formatting. I will quickly demonstrate that here. And before I do, let's stretch this further. Let's just add the last quarter of 2020 to this data sheet again. So we have a full year, the whole 12-month period. Then I'm going to come to Power Query. You can easily open the Power Query editor from here. You go to Launch Power Query Editor, and from here, you will just have the Power Query open, and this is your data source here. So see, if you recall from Excel, I mean, this data, I have to close it for you to see the Excel, but if you recall, our data is in millions. I mean, this point here, won't do us any good when we are looking at millions. It doesn't really make any difference. And by just removing the decimals from this, we will know that before we do that, just have a look at the size again. We are at 82 meg, okay, 82 MB. So let's see how this simple transformation works. I'll just change this to a whole number. I don't need all of that, and I'll replace the existing step with that. And I am simply going to close and load. Okay, so this will just take a few seconds here. This is just to emphasize the point that anytime you have your data, you really need to format your data well, because it's going to help in your model building. It's going to help with the performance that you are going to have, and that it's also going to save you space. Okay, so this is going, remember I've also added 3 months data to the folder. So basically we expect this to go to June 2020. Okay, we expect that to update to June 2020. And we will also expect that the number of records that we have in here, it's also going to increase significantly. So it's loading now, and let's see. Yeah, so, okay, overlapping. Oops, that's my bad. So basically, this is what you have here. You see the June 2020, February 2020, March 2020, all now updated here. Now let me save this, and I want to show you what happens here. I'll close this file. Then I will show you here. See the size now. Now from 82 MB, even with the added 3 months data, we now have 11 MB. I mean, approximately 12 MB. So we need to really take the formatting bit of our column seriously. That can save us the space, it can save us the processing power and the time in which we have to do our analysis. Basically, it processes faster and you can quickly do more analysis on that. So these are your records here, and quickly we've been able to identify that in June 2020, there was a sharp decline in April. So this is more or less a descriptive analysis. And why did we decline? Why did our cost decline and rose sharply in May? So you probably want to do further diagnostic analysis to understand the sharp rise in your costs across this various region here. And maybe by looking at the various regions, you can also see that Accra was the one with the highest cost. Probably it increased within Accra, and all of this will be a deeper dive into that. Well, so that's it for this demo, and that's considering our time. This was just a quick demo just to show you the tools that you have, and we chose Power Query because we know Excel is available to almost everyone. It's easy for everyone to use. You basically can begin some analysis on your own. Once you get a hang of Power Query, you can load lots of data in there. And just to see for the last time, then the total number of records that we are viewing in here is currently 8.4 million rows. And this is being handled in Excel with the help of Power Query and Power Pivot. So that's it about it from my side. Emmanuel, are you still on the call?
Yes, William, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the demo. I think we can wrap up because our time is almost up. So,
Right.
Audience, we really want to take feedback from you. But before that, let me just show the screen quickly. So in continuation of our presentation, we have this that we want to present to you, that in the very near future, we can provide you and your organization these aspects. So data transformation with Power Query, data modeling with Power Pivot, interactive dashboard building. We can actually do this for you.
Great, Iman. So just to weigh in on that. So if we want to take this a step further, so there's the Excel, we have the full stack Excel training in there. And this time we'll be focusing on the modeling tools, as Emmanuel has just said. And if we decide to go the Power BI route, similar thing. Now, the good news here is once you learn Power Query with Excel, it's the same Power Query engine that is within the Power BI there. So you know that for Excel, you also know that for Power BI. If you know Power Pivot in Excel, you also know the modeling data capabilities of Power BI. Now, the main difference here will be the visualization that happens in Power BI, which Power BI has a great visualization options in there, and also the advanced data analytics capability of Power BI. So as starters, well, Excel is good for, it's good, and I encourage that you walk through, take your time to go through these various tools that are in there and transform the way you work. Work with Power Query. It will amaze you how much time you are saving. And we also have the SQL, as I said earlier in the earlier presentation. SQL is one of the must tools for data analysis. We also offer that training. And if you want to go advanced, there is a Python for data analysis and also machine learning with Python. All these are customized, so you can contact us and we will sit down and discuss with you your various needs. Once we understand what you need, we can customize this to suit your need. All right, Emma, thank you very much. And over to you, Emmanuel.
Great, great, great. So thank you all very much. Honestly, our time is up, but we need to take some few more minutes and then answer some questions that you may have. So please, if you have some questions, you can post them on the chat. And if you want to also speak, we can you can use a hand raise tool, and then we will give you access to open your mic to be able to ask the question, please. So let's see if there are any questions on the chat session. Let me just see. I think I have one here. My question is on the visualized aspect of the task of a data analyst. The presenter made mention of the fact that quite a number of data analysts have challenges when it comes to visualizing the data analysis to a set stakeholders. Can we say such people have issues solely with soft skills and have to work on them? And are there any other suggested ways and means to help solve such challenges? William, is the question clear to you?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, I think I think he's spot on. This usually is a soft skill bit, and also there's a bit of the technical as well, because with visualization, you need to understand what visual to use at what point in time. So a typical example is if we are looking for a trend analysis, if the moment you have dates and time in there, note that you are likely to be using a visual that can communicate in terms of trends and patterns. So you probably will be using a line graph, but you see a lot of people using a bar graph to represent that, and that might not communicate clearly in there. So what I will do is there's a book called Data Storytelling, and I will share the author with you on the WhatsApp page, and it's a great book. It's another example that you could have is people like pie chart, but honestly, pie chart it's only good when you have say about 2 or 3 categories to compare. If there are more, it's very difficult to show the proportion of each category using a pie chart there. And in my again, this we take this further in the various offerings that we have. There are dedicated courses on data visualization, which we offer, and I'll be more than happy to go in depth into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, William. And someone is asking whether we'll have the slides made available. So my boss is saying that part of the slides should be made available and not the full slides. So we'll do that for you. Then we have another question saying, what is the difference between data scientists and data analysts? I think you touched on this earlier. Maybe you can briefly touch on it again.
Yes, Ima. Yeah, so I mean this question of anticipated this question, it comes almost anytime we have this. I mean, basically the data analysts will be involved in picking up the raw data, using reporting tools and visualization tools to show patterns and trends in that data. Okay. The data scientists on the other hand, it's more or less involved in the advanced analytics, where they are very huge data sets. Sometimes, and most of the time, the questions are not known. So he's more or less gleaning through all that vast data to see, is there any pattern in there? And those patterns are not easily discoverable. They are very complex patterns within that data set. And again, the data scientist will be doing a lot of iterative experiments in there, because he will probably be creating a model out of a model. He'll be doing what we call feature engineering, where he'll be testing different fields to see how different models behave and all of that. So the data science, will be doing a lot of research in trying to probably come up with a specific question and also perform very complex analysis, whilst the data analyst will probably have a more structured form of data to work with and try and derive the insights through visualizations and showing patterns within the data.
Thank you very much. Can individual accounts be used to get access to Power BI? Individual accounts.
All right, Ima. So the great news is that Power BI offers the desktop for free, and I think it's one of the best thing about Power BI. So the desktop version, in which I showed in the last but one slide, it's actually for free. So you can download the Power BI desktop. You can do all that you want to do, all the visualizations, all of that in there. Now, the only bit is that you won't be able to share this with your colleagues. So, sorry. So you will have all this visualization be probably just sitting on your desktop there, or you're able to show to someone. You will need to subscribe to the Power BI service, or you need to have a Power BI reporting server in your organization to show that. But outside that, you can virtually do all the analysis and all of that within the Power BI desktop. But the good news is that once you do the visualization, you can actually link that to PowerPoint and have that visualization presented there if your audience don't necessarily need to have a Power BI account or an online service to publish that for collaboration.
Thank you very much. Can we get a recording to listen to for a limited period for those of us who joined late? I think my boss says that we should make it available for a limited time. So we'll get back to you on that on the chat session. Great. William, thank you so much. I think we don't have any more questions. So we can wrap up and close our session for today. We thank you all for your comments. We've seen comments about how much you appreciate the webinar we have just had. We really appreciate that. And we hope that in the future, when we come to you with offers that we have for individual training, individual capacity building, and also for organizations, you'll be able to jump onto it as well. Someone asked, do you have short courses for individuals? If so, where can we get the information and the cost? So that will be sent to you subsequently. We would publish that to you, and you can make a choice as to the offers and the time that we are going to hold those sessions. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for your participation. And if you do have any questions after the webinar, you can still post it on the group chat on WhatsApp, or you can get in touch with me and we can arrange for answers to your questions. Thank you, and please do have a good night. But before that, William, you have anything to say before we close? Any closing remarks from your end?
Well, I really want to thank the audience. I appreciate their time and bear with us, and I am grateful that they decided to join us in this journey. And again, hopefully, I hope to see some of them in person. And I want to believe this is just the beginning of the journey, and we will definitely keep in touch. So thank you for joining, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, William, and good night to everyone. Bye for now.